Thanks for tuning in to episode 21 of the Handmade with Heart podcast. On this episode, I interview Leah from Woodstacks Art. We talk about running a small business that's all custom orders, dealing with scammers, and how problem solving and troubleshooting can reshape your small business. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Handmade with Heart podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and I own the small business Scrappy Stitch. Have you ever wanted to know more about some of your favorite small businesses? Follow along as I interview other creative small business owners. We'll talk about getting started, what an average day for a creator is like, tips and tricks, and of course, everything is Handmade with Heart. Hey, Leo, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Dana. How you doing?
Good. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you got started?
Sure. I'm Leah. I own and operate Woodstacks Art, which is right now is making pet portraits. I like to call them one of a kind layered wooden pet portraits. But I also have done a few humans too. How I got started is I just decided to make something for my friend, which I do all the time. And I really couldn't tell you how I came up with the exact idea, but I could tell you that I started it and I took probably about like a 2 year break and then actually completed the project. And that same friend told me to continue doing it. She said I could see other people wanting this of their pet. So I continued and here I am.
Yeah, I saw online that you actually got a couple orders from that first original one, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah, it was amazing, honestly. I mean, I have in the past, I guess just because I do like to give little gifts that I make and stuff like that for people. Drawings and such or whatever, not necessarily these kind of wooden things, but this is the first time that somebody was like, really think that you should do this because this is cool. And I'm like, oh, okay, then I'll do it. Of course, it started with just people I actually know, and then they told people and just kind of branches out from there. And it's awesome. It's been really fun.
Yeah, they are super cool. And you made a TikTok about a piece that you made when you were like 8, and it was the Easter Bunny. That was like one of your first pieces.
Yeah, I like can barely remember it, but I do remember being in my basement with my dad and drawing it. And then I'm pretty sure he gave me a jigsaw, which is I mean, obviously it's a saw, so you probably shouldn't give it to like a child, but I will say this, the saw is very small. And I don't know, you can kind of manipulate it, and I'm sure his hand was on the saw also. Yeah, I wasn't operating this saw by myself, but I do remember drawing it on the piece of wood and then we cut it out. Yeah, and I hung it up probably 2 Easters ago. I can see it right now in my kitchen. Two Easters ago, and then I just left it up because I kind of thought it was funny that I had done that. It's like I knew that I made that funny for Easter, but I forgot, that it is
Yeah.
also an animal head made of wood. That's so strange. Kind of weird that that happened.
And you said the ear broke off, and then you had to like put a piece behind it, and that was your first like wood stack. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was
Just
so
yeah.
cute.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. So explain your process to people. Like it's wood stacked. So you take a jigsaw. Is that what it
Mhm.
is?
Actually, I use what's called a scroll saw.
Okay.
There's like it's kind of like a little platform, and there's a pretty thin blade on an arm that goes up and down and very fast, but it has different speed settings. And, you push the piece of wood about. It's similar to a jigsaw in that a jigsaw also has a thin blade, and you can manipulate it very easily around curves and stuff like that. It's not
Okay.
exactly bending, but you can't do that with a table saw, and you can't do that with, other types of saws. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I use a scroll saw, and then the handheld version of that would be a coping saw, which is actually you might see jewelers use those. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where, they'll do like rings or something like that, and it almost looks like there's a piece of wood extending out from the table where there's like an insert in which they can manipulate the saw around. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but
Yeah.
I use that for some portion of the dogs because I have to cut their eyes out. So I make little holes in there.
So how do you break it down with the different layers? Like how do you visualize that and turn them into 3D layers?
Basically, I guess, I don't know if you've ever taken an art class, I'm sure you have, or maybe like a painting or drawing class when you're doing field of view, whatever's closest to you and then what's further away. It's literally how I think of, the picture that I get.
Hmm.
So, if I were to take my hand and just go slowly towards the face, what am I hitting first? I'm hitting the tip of the nose. So that's my top layer, and then what's behind it, just kind of like a rough outline. And sometimes I can work that into the pattern of these animals' faces, or perhaps like, I don't know, kind of swoop around the eye, use the bone structure as where my layers are going. It's like I'm kind of explaining it to you, but I don't even know if that makes any sense. So don't even worry about it. I feel like whenever I have to explain it, I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably just, what's that crazy like picture of the guy where he's like pulling his hair out and like showing a crazy schematic behind him. I probably sound absolutely unhinged, but
But
yeah, that's
sometimes,
that's kind of how I think about it. What's further behind,
yeah,
the ears are obviously behind the nose, way back there. So that's probably my last layer. Things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to explain the process because it's just like you just do it.
Exactly. And definitely, there's definitely been trial and error. I mean, I could show you any number of the portraits that I've done in the past where I was like, that was that wasn't it. That was not the right approach, but interesting, maybe I could apply it over here, stuff like that. So
How many layers do they end up being, or is it different for each one?
I'd say it's different for each
Mm.
one. I suppose I could do as many layers as possible. But if I did that, then it would not be the exact same thing that I'm setting out to make, really. I would say, though, when I do lay them out, I'd probably say like 8 layers, something like that, from the nose all the way back to the ears. Yeah.
I like how in your videos you show them and you show from different angles so people can really see the dimension and all the work that goes into it. It's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's quite funny. Obviously I can see these things and I know what's happening, but I'm just thinking, oh yeah, like the person's looking at it, boom, it's right there. Or what I'll do a few times I've done in the past where I'll make a TikTok and it'll almost just kind of be like layer by layer, like it's building up. But I guess the end I was just showing it straight on. So it was still like, I guess, well, whether it's the general public's small attention span and they just don't even
Mm,
care and they don't
yeah.
even know what I built up to, or
Yeah.
something, or I don't know, but everybody's like, whoa, I didn't realize it was like that,
Yeah.
or something like that. So yeah, I learned to definitely do that.
Oh yeah. Because you paint them also, and so you put a lot of dimension with the paint. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute." And then when you started to turn it, I was like, "What? What is going on?" Like it was amazing. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. I am like notorious for not filming while I'm like process videos. I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Here it is. That's what it looks. That's why there's just videos of me holding it and moving it because
Hey, it
I'm like,
works.
yeah, whatever.
It
And I
works.
guess it definitely works for the attention span because
Oh yeah.
I will say it's kind of crazy, don't you think? Do you find that the people
Hmm.
don't have like a long attention span? It's
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
I have another pretty popular one where I'm literally just walking up to it, showing and just turning it, and that's it. But I think it was because of the sound I used. That's another thing.
That
It's
does
like,
help. Yeah.
but some of it just, just it doesn't apply. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like some of these sounds, I can't really do anything with them.
Right.
I just put whatever's suggested at this point. I'm just like, yeah, sure. Or yeah, that one sounds familiar because I heard it every other video.
Yeah.
Sure, put that one on. I don't know. Sometimes that's why I'll do a random hashtag. I always do hashtag hip hop if I can't think of something else because I just like hip hop music. So I just do that.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. You never know. You know what I mean?
And I like that you call them portraits too.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. It all just, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where a pun
Yeah.
just fits in just right,
Uh-huh. I
something
know.
like that. We'll
I
play
love
on
puns.
words.
I love it.
Hmm.
Ever since you made that first one when you were like 8, you continued woodworking ever since then, or did you sort of put away for a little bit and come back to it recently?
Oh, yeah, great. Great question. Uh, no, actually, I don't even know why I made that wooden. bunny when I was, younger. I don't exactly know how old I was, but yeah, when I was younger, I don't remember wanting to do that, why I did it, or anything like that, but I wish I continued to do it then. No, I can't quite think of any other things unless I just made it in any type of art class, but I don't believe that I did any woodworking. The reason why I would say is a couple reasons. Before this, I went to school to repair guitars and other fretted instruments.
Wow.
And yeah, and I just wanted to learn how to do that, just to know how to do that. And then from there in my head, I thought that maybe I would learn how to build the guitars, stuff like that. And obviously that involves woodworking, but I ended up not doing it. And another reason I would say that I started to do woodworking too is I started to acquire all these tools from different people.
Hmm.
There was a guy I knew that ran a music shop, and I used to do some repairs for him. And then during COVID, he went out of business, so he gave me some of his guitar tools, but as well as other woodworking tools. He's like an older
Wow.
guy, so he gave it to me. Yep. And then also, my dad, he moved into an apartment, so why does he need like these like miter saws? Nobody's like ripping 2x4s in their kitchen,
Right.
living in the kitchen. So, I have a garage, so I took it. And then my aunt moved, and she was the one that had the scroll saw. She said, "Do you want it?" I said, "Sure." And actually, that's when I had the thought, oh, now I don't have to use this coping saw, which is the handheld one. I can actually go faster with
Hmm.
electricity. Yeah, I don't know. I think I just like wood. I like the aspect of it. You know what I mean? It comes from a tree. That's absolutely
Hmm.
bizarre if you really think about it. But it's absolutely crazy. And I don't know. I think it's funny to make it into something else. So I just think that that's cool. I mean, same with
Yeah.
clay, same with really any other thing that you're
Yeah.
using to make another thing. I think it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have
That's
to
all I
use a
got.
specific kind of wood?
No, but you're gonna laugh at this. So the first one that I made, I believe it was just some light wood. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I don't want to say it was balsa, which is I think that's what you use when you start to learn how to whittle. It's very soft wood. This was just like flat, and I think it might have even been sold as like craft board, not even wood. Like
Okay.
there was some wood element in there, but whatever. And it was just light, and it was gross. And the reason why I say it was gross is that when I was cutting it, it was just being really splintery, and I had to sand it a lot or whatever. But this is a fun fact of my business. I actually make it out of it's called underlayment, it's like for flooring. It is a kind of plywood, but it's just very thin, and that's what I
Oh,
layered it with. But I found that birch underlayment is better, and I don't have to sand as much because it's not so, I don't know, fibrous, I guess.
yeah. Hey,
Hmm.
whatever works, huh?
Yeah, why not?
And you make other animals too. You don't just make dogs, you make cats. I saw you made a
Oh yeah.
bird. You made a couple
Yeah.
cows.
Hmm. Most commonly dogs and cats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I did do a bird, which was awesome. I thought maybe somebody would be brave enough to, send something else, but I guess not. Maybe you could put the word out. I made a fox and I
Oh
made a
yeah.
cow. Yeah, I just kind of just decided to make other animals. I didn't really know what to do. You know what I mean? I also,
Hmm.
that was when I was like starting out earlier, and I wanted to obviously continue to make art, but I wasn't necessarily getting an order for it. So just kept going. I actually did a couple humans too. So
Hmm.
I did my friend Gabe, who's on my Etsy. That's the picture of my friend.
Okay.
And then I did my friend's son as a baby, but it's a little bit scary. So
I saw the TikTok you said that she's scared of dolls. Was she scared of it?
yeah, she said, you know what? I think I'll pass.
Oh no.
And well, it was she's my like best friend, so
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine that she said that. And also I was kind of laughing about it. And then she made the suggestion that maybe her mom would want it because it's her first grandchild. So maybe she'll like it. We'll pass it on off to grandma. She'll love it.
Do you have to do anything different from when you're making a human to a dog?
I mean, the only thing that I like, obviously, have done way more pets and
Hmm.
specifically dogs than humans. The only thing that I did kind of do was I started to almost like I remember pronouncing my buddy Gabe's nose. So I kind of like sanded it. So it's a little bit different than the dogs.
Hmm.
It's like this weird. These are like sculptures, but it's almost like they're flattened sculptures. I don't even
Yeah.
know what to call them. They're like I don't know. It's just so silly. One time I showed my uncle, I remember, and he said, "Why is the nose flat? Like, I don't get it." And I'm like, "The whole thing is flat. What are you talking about? Everything's flat. What do you mean?" I guess he was expecting it to keep going, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. But yeah, the difference, that's the only thing that I can remember. But I also remember sanding a bit on the cow. The horns are kind of more rounded instead of these like, steps or
Hmm.
layers.
Oh, and usually you do just the face, but I saw a video that you did an entire cat one time.
Oh yeah.
That was really
This was
cool.
also a friend commission. My friend Ron has a cat, and it's funny because the cat is very long, and it's also that cat is kind of just has strange proportions all around.
Okay.
I can't remember what kind of cat he is, but all I know is that he just is like, he's sitting there, he's fine. Okay, there's a cat, he's handsome, great. And then you see him lay out, and it's like, whoa, this cat is way longer. I don't know if you've ever seen people lift their cats up, and it's like,
Yes.
it's like they unravel or something. And so my friend Joey said, "Do you think you could do Ozzy? But I have a request. Will you do his body too? Because I just think he's so long." And I said, "Oh, okay. Can I have a request in there that when I make his body, I'd make it a loop-de-loop? So instead of actually making this giant long thing, I mean, it still is pretty big. I'd say it's about 2.5 feet long or 3 feet long. Yeah,
Yeah.
he put it up on his mantle on his fireplace during his birthday party.
I love it.
It was a hit.
It was really cool.
Thank you.
How long does it usually take you to create a piece?
Oh boy, I do get this question a lot, but it's kind of hard for me to determine. But let me see here. I would say, I do things in between. I don't start and then go all the way to the end. I
Hmm.
break it up into different steps. And especially if I have other ones going, I go back and forth. I don't know if that's ADD or what it is, but I would say probably about like a day and a half. But like I said, I break things up. Obviously, I'm like cooking dinner, taking care of the dogs, things like that, doing this, that, the other,
Hmm.
going to the store. Hey, there's been ones that have taken me longer where it's like, I don't know, I'm looking at this. It's like I've been looking at it for too long. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So just I don't know, just you're not going to be satisfied with it or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you just mentioned before that you're a perfectionist, so I'm sure you know exactly what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And like half of it's like nobody even
Nobody
paid
even noticed.
attention.
I
It was
know. I
just
know.
you. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Me overthinking. I know.
Mhm.
You don't use any photo editing apps or anything. You draw out all the pieces by yourself, right? Like you hand draw everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is super impressive too, because I don't know if you ever saw this, but there's quilts that you can make with like pet portraits or different portraits and stuff. And I've been watching this series of videos on how to do it with fabric.
Okay.
And so they actually run it through a like Photoshop
Hmm.
and then posterize it. So that puts it in chunks.
Okay. Like it almost
Chunks.
look like a graffiti stencil or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they do that and then they print it. Oh, well,
Hmm.
they put it in grayscale and then they posterize it and then they print it out. And then you take like tracing paper and you trace around the whole thing from lightest to darkest. So maybe you give it like 6 layers and then
Ah,
you number everything, you cut it out, then you pick your fabrics and you do it that way. But you don't use anything.
wow.
You just
Well, there was
freehand everything, right? Like,
well, okay, so the first couple I had the one way of doing it, and then I obviously wanted to kind of make it a little bit faster, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Whatever. And you learned how to do portraits in art class. At least this is how I learned in high school. We drew about, I don't know, you could make it any size you wanted, but I remember just doing 1 inch by 1 inch squares, making a huge grid on a piece of paper. Then you take your photo and you lay a clear layer over the top and you make a same grid over the top of the picture.
Hmm.
And then it's almost like drawing by grid, drawing by boxes.
Yeah.
And you see, oh, okay, the corner of the eye starts at the two-thirds of the box over here, and then it makes like a light curve all the way. You know what I mean? Like that's how you're learning to draw. It's like you're looking at something and breaking it down. So I originally that's what I did with the dog. Like I said, I kind of like, I don't know, it subconsciously knew the layers in my head or
Yeah.
was, mapping it out. So I knew which section of the dog to draw on the piece of wood. I'm like moving each layer around the piece of wood. And then I actually cut it out with a coping saw, which is the handheld saw I was talking to you about. So that took forever. And I also used to make them kind of big. So the first one that I made was, it's a big one. So that one's crazy. But yeah, that was a slow way of doing it, I suppose. I sped it up to where I draw out the layers and I will project it so that I can make it bigger onto the piece of wood. Expedite the process, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
have to do that here and there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Absolutely. I know. One
Mhm.
thing I saw, and I was laughing so hard today when I watched
Oh
this
gosh.
video. You went to go get some free wood pallets that you saw on
Mhm.
Craigslist.
Oh yeah,
Tell me about that. You ended up getting yelled at.
I did. Yeah. Actually, the free pouch was for something else, but
Okay.
I do like gardening in my backyard, so it's
Hmm.
just trying to do like a garden bed because it had rotted out. Anywho, I said, you know what? Let me just see if I could do it with pallet wood. So I'd go on good old Craigslist, type in free pallets, and it's on there all the time. I've seen it before for like firewood sometimes,
Yeah.
although beware, kids. Some you don't want to set on fire.
Right.
It's
Because the
gross.
chemicals, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are some that you can burn without because it's not treated. You have to look. I can't right off the top of the dome. I cannot remember the initials and which ones to burn, which ones you can't. But I think one of them even says it. Might even say it on the side. But anywho, whatever. That's besides the point. I typed in free pallets and it's like, yeah, it's but behind the Habitat for Humanity building. Just come on by, load it up. Like you're good to go. And just like a quick little snapshot of the huge pile of free pallets.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I know where that is. Awesome. I pull around the side, right around the building. I see wood. Awesome. Park. Back up to it. I'm loading the pieces of wood in. I'm like, dang, this is nice. Actually, hold on. Back up, of course, in Leah fashion. I told the story out of order a little bit. Well, the one key detail that I want to say is just to defend myself, the picture was taken from this angle where
Okay.
I had taken the wood from, like starting there. It was in the picture. And also it said pallet wood. Okay. It didn't just say free pallets. It said pallet wood. Okay. Back into the story that I was telling. I'm putting these pieces. I probably put two pieces in, and I'm like, dang, this is like new. Like this doesn't even look like there was like nails in it. That's crazy. I go for piece number three, and I'm like looking down the line at all this wood, and I see pallets, 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 and then I see like slightly different. Like there was like a staircase, and I don't even know what. But like I said, this is within seconds. I'm having this thought. Like I picked up the third piece of wood, like, oh, this is kind of weird, but whatever. Like continue. Then all of a sudden, this guy's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you stealing?" And I was like, ah, ah, what? Like, what is happening? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, there's a Craigslist ad, there's an ad, and he's like just taking the wood out of my car, and I'm
Oh,
like,
he
I'm
took it
taking it out
out.
of my
Oh
car.
my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was not happy about that guy at all, but he just kind of came in real hot. But I
Yeah.
get it. I guess to him it looked like I was stealing his wood. He was, I don't know, he was like making something. I'm assuming it was like a wheelchair ramp or something. The fact that I saw the staircase and then there's wood, but there were pallets. He said, "No, oh no, that's the pallet wood over there." And I'm like, "There's no clear like
Like no
line
sign or
between
anything.
your
Yeah.
wood, no, between your wood and this." And also, nobody told you that this is happening, like that people are taking this. Like, you should probably put your good wood away from this.
Yeah.
This is not a
Yeah.
good idea. This is
Yeah.
a horrible idea. And then he's like, this is a different business than that. And I'm like, that
Well, yeah.
doesn't matter at all.
Oh my gosh.
It
That
was
is
just
too
scary
funny.
because to all of
Oh,
a sudden be yelled at,
oh yeah. Yeah.
it was terrifying. So be careful. Take your friends with you, I suppose. Although there were people around, so I wasn't too scared.
You made a video about signing up to do an art show.
Yeah,
You were talking about how tricky it is to make a display because everything you do is custom, right? So you have
right.
like very few. And then you said you also showed up on the wrong date.
Oh my gosh. Actually, I just remembered that. Oh
Tell
my
me
gosh.
about that.
Clearly a miscommunication and obviously could have been way worse. But my friend, he works at a church. It's actually my friend Gabe, shout out, who is on the Etsy. That's the
Hey Gabe,
human
what's up?
portrait that's he's there. You can see him in wooden form on the Etsy. He does the sound for a church and he said, they're willing to let me put on a little art show. I'm going to get some musicians. I'm going to get some artists together. Some of them I know, some of them I'll just ask, I know that there's artists who actually ask other artists, whatever. He said, yeah, it's going to be July, end of July. I'll let you know closer to. Obviously,
Hmm.
you do custom work, but just put up, your cow, put up the fox, whatever. If you have time to make it, then you do. Look at it more like you're just talking, you know what I mean? Just kind of like a nice ease into it. And I was super appreciative because, he's basically hooking it up. I didn't have to pay to play, as they say, I just had to set up a little table. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And yeah, then all of a sudden the day came. So I was like, okay, here we go. I even made like a little display thing. And I showed up to the parking lot and I was like, this parking lot is empty. And it's kind of crazy because this is a church, this is Sunday. And then I'm like, wait a minute, we're gonna set up an art show on Sunday. And then I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. He did say that, the churchgoers will probably be let out into the same area in which the art show is going on. And he's like, so then, maybe we'll get some people walking around. No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, but the parking lot is empty. I will say, probably only stayed there a couple minutes, less than five for sure. And I was like, man. And he was like, what's up? And I'm like, hey man, I'm probably wrong because the parking lot is very empty, but I am at your job. I'm at the church right now. And he's like, no, it's in a month. It's not, it's not June, the end of June, it's the end of July. I showed up a month early, basically. But I think it was, I don't know, combo of being a little nervous and
Yeah.
I don't know what, but yeah, I did. But it was also just as lax on the actual day. I don't think that I talked to him or anything like that. I just kind of showed up and he was like, yeah, set up right over there. And I just put whatever I could on a little table.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had to invite my mom so that she could be there for support.
Oh.
But it was awesome. All the artists there were super nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I like that. Yeah.
So there was a bunch of people set up there that day.
I would say about 10 or so artists.
Wow.
It wasn't like humongous, but within the little like front hallway area of this church was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. What's the most common question you get asked about your art?
There's probably how long does it take me to do it?
Oh,
Yeah.
check.
Yeah. But don't feel bad. I'm not exhausted with it at all. It's so funny because I'm like, I don't know. And then people are like, how do you not know how to do it? I'm like, because I think what it is mainly is, or a big part of it is painting. It's actually
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
funny. Never really painted before this. I have painted obviously like rooms in a house or maybe like a little like figurine or something like that. But that wasn't my main go-to. I'd say
Hmm.
drawing more so was. So it was just kind of funny, but you can get really crazy with painting, super detailed. Obviously it has to dry, so you have to wait a little bit,
Hmm.
there's some waiting time in it. I don't know. It definitely kind of makes you relax because you're almost forced to take your time, because you do have to make sure it dries, stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, it just kind of all dependent on the dog's coat, I suppose. How crazy you
Yeah.
want to get into it, how
Yeah.
detailed you want to be.
Hmm.
It can get crazy. Mhm.
Did you ever have any requests that you were like, no, I can't, there's no way I can do that?
I mean, if anything, if there ever was one where I was like, oh, how are we gonna do that? It was more like, how am I gonna ship that? But they were just questions. I never had to actually make anything. And it's usually because of the size. That's what
Yeah.
the request will be like oh, can you make a giant one? The reason why I did the really cute cat was because I was just going to my friend's house. So I just put it
Yeah.
in the back seat when,
Yeah.
But besides that, I can't quite think of one where I was like, oh no freaking way.
Hmm.
Anything that I could think of, yeah, it's just probably size based, but nothing that comes to mind where I said I definitely couldn't do it or anything like that.
Hmm. Do
Mhm.
you do US only orders?
I believe I'm only set up for the United States.
Yeah. It's probably expensive to ship them, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can be. I mean, they're
Yeah.
fairly lightweight, and I
Oh.
do just maintain, for the most part, like two different sizes. I say
Hmm.
for the most part because I say you can have the frame or not have the frame. So it's up to a certain size, I guess. Well, it depends on what the shape of the head is, I suppose.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
because I saw
yeah,
you do some like diamonds and then some are more square.
I feel like I usually do squares.
Hmm.
That's the most common. I can think of two diamond ones that I did. One was for a friend, so I just, turned it sideways
Yeah.
to give it a little something special.
Hmm.
And then I also sent it to another TikToker. I don't know if you saw that, but
Yeah, I
he's
wanted to ask you about that. So tell me about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'm on TikTok, as Dana says that she's my number one fan of all my TikTok videos. No, I'm just kidding.
I am
Thanks.
Leah Fan Club
Um,
president.
Unfortunately, I make a fool out of myself on TikTok. I follow this woodworker. He's from Washington. It's an account with him and his wife. John and Annie is his wife. And Annie's also an artist. But John is a woodworker and he is blind. And I just thought that was amazingly
Yeah.
fascinating. They're both super positive and I don't know, they're just both very creative. They're both makers. They're just nice and nice to watch their videos. I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but I like watching like doing a good deed. I like watching like a nice surprise, like what's her name? That lady who nobody thought was going to win America's Got Talent. You know what I mean? I like uplifting videos
Hmm.
and they are there to bring it. So I had the idea to make their dog Pickle, make a portrait of their dog Pickle, and then send it to them. Because John is blind, it's almost like tactile art. He can touch it, and obviously his wife Annie can appreciate it because it's there for her too. And I just thought it was interesting because Annie paints and John does woodworking, that it was almost like a combination of the two of their chosen art forms. So
Yeah.
I just sent it to them and they ended up making a video about it. So that helped me out a bit, which was awesome. Yeah, I just thought they were good people and I just wanted to let them know that they helped me out. So I try to make them feel good too by sending them that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love it. You made a video about almost getting scammed on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's happened a few times, but it hasn't happened recently, which is awesome. And obviously, after the first time, I was wise to it. Even the first time, I was like, okay, this is pretty obvious. But it was after having, like, a post do well or whatever. I guess that's how it happens. However, they use these things to determine who's, I don't know, has things to sell, I suppose.
Yeah.
They message me through Instagram and say something along the line of, "Oh, I like your artwork. Can you do one for my son or whoever? Can you do one for me?" And then I say, "Sure. This is my Etsy page. Go on to it. I'm just trying to, oh yeah, absolutely. That sounds good. And this is where you can go. Oh, I would like to do it through here. I'd like to do it through Instagram." And I'm like, no, I'm not set up for that. And also, well,
Hmm.
that's why you're weird. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
like the website. It's too hard for me, or however they worded it. But, oh, I'd like it better on here. And I'm like, it's pretty easy to use Etsy. I think,
It's
like
like any other
buzz
website.
off. Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't it say like, like right up there? It's
Yeah.
pretty obvious. It's not different than any other website where you could just search. literally anything. But and also it's linked in my profile. I'm like, what is happening? But not to offend anybody of the older generations, but these profiles are of older looking aged people, and they do have posts, they do have friends, which is weird too, you know
Mm,
what I mean, these accounts. So it looked legit enough to be somebody's grandma, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And but the thing that's weird is when they're like, oh, I don't want to do it on that website. I want to do it here. And I had heard, I do not remember from who, but I had heard that it's from whatever computer or whatever the heck they're using. They can't like see any external links. I guess they can't like click out of the link and view
Mm,
something. I don't know how like a lot of this stuff works. But I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it was just odd to me. It was like I said, maybe the profile looked a little legit, but no, it's not worth it. It doesn't make any sense why anybody would not want to trust Etsy. Etsy's been
right.
around for forever. It's super safe. People have full-blown careers from Etsy on there. Of course it's safe.
Right.
I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, but
Yeah. You're right. Because, like, that would strike me as a little weird too, because I feel like Etsy has been around a lot longer than Instagram shops have been around and
right.
has a pretty good reputation. And I would trust that more than on Instagram, honestly, like buying something off of Etsy. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either, but yeah, it was whack. It did happen a couple times.
Yeah.
And also that's another thing just to be aware of, I suppose, is they do all kind of say the same verbiage. And it'll be slightly off. It'll be like, "Oh, I commission you for your art?" Yeah, it's just
The
like,
grammar
dude, I'm
is
talking
weird.
like, yeah, you're talking like a robot weirdo. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I saw you called the one out on it
Yeah, I
on
did.
your post.
Well,
Yeah,
you
your grammar
gotta.
is a
And then
little
it's like,
weird.
yeah.
Someone told me recently, and so I got to reevaluate how I invite people onto the podcast, that they actually thought I was trying to scam them. Because what I do is I find people and then I go on their Instagram and I DM them, right? And I
Yeah.
usually have a link and I say, hey, if you're interested, click this link and fill the form out. And it
Mm,
didn't occur to me when I was doing it that people would be like, I'm not clicking on this. No way. Like, and I actually had somebody because I didn't hear back from them. So I messaged them from my Scrappy Stitch profile and I was like, hey, like, just so you know, I sent you a message if you're interested. If not, no big deal. I always tell people, like, it's no big deal. And she was like, oh, I thought that was like a scam. That's why I deleted it. I knew I wasn't going to click on that. I was like, oh my gosh. So
that's
I don't
funny.
know. I know. I was cracking up. I might have to figure out something
That
different.
does make sense though, and I didn't
It
even think of it, but
does.
I knew that you were a real person because I don't forget how at this point, but knew that you maybe you did message me from both. I'm not sure, but
Maybe.
I knew that you guys were affiliated, and also I had seen it across two different platforms, and that
Yeah.
usually doesn't happen. So I
Yeah.
knew that you were like a real person. I suppose you could have had me click on something bad, but well, look, here we are. This is the end result.
Right.
I'm
It
glad
just
you didn't. Thanks, Dana.
yeah, I'll
Thanks.
try I try not to scam anybody.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I don't know. I think my page looks pretty real because I do post on it and
Oh,
everything.
yeah, you
So,
do, you do.
but I
But the
guess if
message itself, it was, yeah, and especially
yes,
like, hey, click on this
yes. And if you've never heard
is,
of the podcast, then you're gonna be like, what
but
is
that's
this?
another thing too. It's like very easy to just like, yeah, Google you
Yeah,
or whatever, or
right.
search. Yeah, figure it out.
But I get stuff a lot through my Scrappy Stitch, and it's people messaging me, or they'll find my email, which, like, that's fine. My Scrappy Stitch, obviously, is my business email. And they'll email me and they'll say, we love your videos, da, da, we really like what you're doing. We'd like to collaborate with you. Click on this link. And I'm not clicking on it, sorry. So, like, I feel a little hypocritical because I'm asking people. But anyway, what I do is I will Google them, right? So I Google the
Mhm.
person, I Google the company, and all these people, I cannot find anything about their companies. So I don't know
Wow.
what they're trying to do here. They're trying to scam me. Or do you ever get DMs and they're like, oh, we'd like to collab with you. We think we can help you grow your following. And you click on their profile and it's like they have 3 people following them. And like, actually, they're not even following you. So I'm like, what?
Yeah,
What are you trying to get out of this?
yeah, exactly. It's all really weird. And it's like
Yeah.
you could I feel like you could have gone about it like so much better if you're really trying. Like this doesn't even seem like you're trying, but that just goes to show you how many people, I guess, are really falling for
Oh,
it.
I know. I know.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I have also gotten messages like that, and it'll be like, "We want to collab because we love your dog," and I'm like, "Well, clearly you don't understand that these are not my dogs. There's like 80 of them. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot."
Mm-hmm. You run an animal shelter over there.
Yeah, like
Just
what? Like that's the what? I can't collaborate. I don't own this. This is not my cat. Yeah.
have you ever had to deal with an unhappy customer?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Thank
Good.
goodness. Yeah. I mean, maybe there was an unhappy customer out there, but they never told me about it. So
Hmm.
shout out to you guys for not. No, for the most part, I think everybody enjoys it in some
Yeah.
way. I try my best. I try my absolute best.
I always wonder that with people who do like such specific custom, and people are crazy about their pets. I'm crazy about mine, so I know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I absolutely get it. I mean, though, I'm just trying to show, this is what the pet looks like and this
Mm-hmm.
is what their portrait looks like. Like there is obviously a little bit of a stylization there.
Yeah.
But as long as they recognize that, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
They're okay with it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's some that I like more than others, but I think that's with everything, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're great.
Thank you.
You told me that sometimes you have to problem solve for your small business, and that's one thing that you've gotten good at. Tell me a little bit about that.
I knew that when I started, I was like, wow, this is taking like a very long time. Yes, it's nice to start as a gift and it's a gift for someone and it's just something for me to do. So I have all the time in the world. They don't know
Hmm.
that I'm going to give them this gift. Well, it changes when it's for, Harry's birthday party, but, in 2 weeks and somebody needs it across the country or something like that. So it's a little crazy. But yeah, like I said, I had to expedite the process, make it just go a little bit faster. So I would say, that's definitely one right off the top of my head that I could think of is just trying to, oh yeah, actually, if I do it this way, that kind of makes a little bit more sense. And some of them
Hmm.
are like, wow, duh, like why didn't you do that? But I'll say I didn't know how to run a small business that makes pet portraits. How do
Right.
I know?
Right.
Just I'm rolling with it. When I was a kid, I thought adults had it all figured out, but then I grow up to realize that nobody knows anything that they're doing.
Hmm.
They're all faking it till they make it.
That's right.
So, it's kind of like that. It's like, something goes wrong, like, oy, what can I possibly do? Well, knock on wood, like I said, nothing too bad has happened. Nothing that I couldn't, problem solve my way out of. So
Hmm.
that's good. And I am sure it happens. So they're small business owners, or they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
what do I do?
Oh yeah.
And I've seen awesome things come out of it. I've seen artists where they have scraps of whatever, that they don't use, and then now they're repurposing it for something else, or you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like just kind of making it all make sense. And I think it's cool.
And there's always still stuff that you can learn. Like, I mean, I've been doing mine small business for years, and it was
Hmm.
only this year I realized how to completely maximize how much I can get out of a yard of fabric. And it like
Hmm.
blew my mind when I sat there and I was like, okay, I am going to figure this out. And if I do this every single time, I can get X, Y, and Z out of a yard of fabric with like very little waste. I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, why didn't I think of this years ago? I would have.
Yeah, and then you're like,
It's,
oh man, I don't even want to know how much I wasted
I know.
if it was quote unquote wasted.
Right.
I could have been doing this the whole time.
Yeah. Do you have any resources that you use that helped you develop your small business?
I mean, is TikTok a resource?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can learn a lot on
I
TikTok.
mean, yeah, I think so to a degree. I mean, like I said, I when I first started, family and friends were ordering the portraits. Then, obviously there's somewhere in there a stranger trusted me enough to do it for them.
Yeah.
And that was 100% mainly because I make such doofy, silly TikToks,
Hmm.
honestly. And it's just interesting to see, what works and what doesn't work, or what you think works and what doesn't work.
Right.
It's like a toss up, but it's also quite crazy. I mean, I legitimately didn't think that, the blind woodsman was going to make a video about the portrait that I made, but obviously I'm very happy that they did. They just use their platform to like promote another artist, which heck yeah, you do it too, Dana.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I think that's how it should be. Why wouldn't you, I guess, especially if you think it's cool,
Yeah.
or you think it's good.
Yeah, well,
It
I
doesn't
think the great thing about TikTok is it's like a nice community and you fall into this like niche of your people and then you can duet videos, I do like
exactly.
unboxing videos, and help promote each other and learn from each other. It's awesome. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
absolutely a good tool. What do you like most about having a small business?
I would say that my small business I quite enjoy, you know what I mean? I do like to create, I do like to do this artsy stuff and also woodwork, stuff like that. I would say that my life is better since doing this. It's definitely fun, and yeah, there's definitely some things that are scary, but whatever. Live your life. I'm always trying to say that. Live your life. Just, you know what? How are you gonna know? How are you gonna know if you don't try it?
Exactly.
Just go for it.
Do you think you'll ever teach any classes or anything like that?
I never thought about it, but I don't see why not.
Hmm.
I don't consider myself a master scroll saw or I did also have the thought that maybe it would be interesting to just kind of have like a camera on me while I'm doing different steps of the process.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Patreon type thing, or I'm not necessarily talking or doing a live video, but maybe I'm not necessarily talking, I'm just kind of doing it. I'm sure you've seen that on TikTok as
Yeah.
well, as
Hmm.
people doing something you can't really talk to them, but they're doing their thing and you can watch it.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Do you have any tips for anyone who wants to get started?
To be completely honest with you, I mean, me, like I said, I'm so sorry if I sound absolutely unhinged or maybe just a little bit dumb, but
No.
just just go for it. Just go for it. I don't know. My
Hmm.
friend's like, no, I think that people will like this. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's see if they like it. And I'm having a great time. Like I
Good.
said, really.
Yeah. Do you have any goals for your small business?
Yeah, I hope to continue to do this. Really, it's really fun. I like doing it. It's awesome. If I inspire somebody else, that'd be awesome too. I think that would be cool. You know what I mean? You never
Hmm.
know. But yeah, I'd say that that's my first one that comes to mind.
Well, we're getting near the end of the podcast,
Oh boy.
and that means random fact time. Do you have your fact for
Oh,
me?
I do. So, like I was talking about, the scroll saw is my main saw that I use for these portraits. I cut out all the layers out of the underlayment, the flooring that I was mentioning. But when they first made these scroll saws, I guess they intended them for just a lot bigger projects. It was still intricate work, but I suppose it was just because of the motor and the blade. These were 10 feet tall. Some of the first ones that were made were 10 feet tall.
Oh, my word.
So I imagine that they almost had to like at least step up onto this thing. So it was crazy. I didn't even know that. I
That
mean,
is
I
crazy.
imagine usually things, computers were like the size of your
Yeah.
room. So now
Oh,
now
yeah.
they're in our pockets. So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't know. I thought that was odd to think of just such a small little thing. I make
Yeah.
little doggy noses out of this. This thing used to be 10 feet tall.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if you would have to
Oh
do
my God. Oh my God. What if it made like big ones?
you would?
That'd be crazy. Big portraits.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me this
Yeah,
afternoon, Leah. I really appreciated chatting with you and learning more
of
about your
course.
small business.
Yes, thank you so much, Dana.
Yeah, and
Thanks.
I'm sure I'll be seeing you around on the TikTok.
Word. Thanks.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All
Bye.
right, later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Handmade with Heart podcast. Don't forget to follow Leah at Woodstacks Art, and you can find me at Scrappy Stitch and the Handmade with Heart podcast.